Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 45 of IGEL Weekly. I'm your host, Andy Whiteside. This week is a community edition, so we bounce these back and forth. One week is corporate-focused blogs, and the next week is community-focused blogs. So, of course, if we're doing community, that means Seb's here. Hey, Seb, how's it going?
I'm pretty good. Winter's coming back to Europe, so it's feeling pretty cold outside, but I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. Hope you as well.
I've never visited Europe, but I'm definitely going to come during, I think, the summer, because it sounds like you guys have great summer weather.
Yeah, that's almost the only part of the year where we have good weather in general. But yes, I would definitely recommend to come in summer.
Yeah. Well, you're part of Europe now. How far do you have to get south in Europe before the weather becomes much more moderate?
I would say 200 kilometers.
Yeah.
200 kilometers. Then you get to Mediterranean weather, which is pretty warm, not such humid, and you will go more to Greece, Italy, Spain, and from the pure geographical position, I would say 200 kilometers. Then it's getting better.
Yeah. Well, you guys don't have too crazy. It's not too hot, and it's not too cold either, though, right? Where you live?
Yeah, that's right. The last year was pretty fine, but years before we had some peaks, but it's nothing comparable to the US. So we speak about degrees Celsius in that case. So it's about 38 might be the hottest moment that you get in summer, maybe 40 degrees, but not more than that. Would have to double check what it means in Fahrenheit, to be honest, but I can double check that in a moment.
You know, that's one of the biggest technology conversations I like to have with people is how big of a technology impact has played on the world. And that really comes down to the ability to heat and cool your house. If you go back 50 years ago, certainly 100 years ago, but 50 years ago, you couldn't cool your house and you couldn't heat efficiently your house. So you had to live somewhere where it wasn't too hot and it wasn't too cold. And that makes sense why the population bases ended up where they are.
Absolutely.
I live in the south of the United. I live in the southern part of the United States. People come here now and say, "Oh, this is a great place. Love living here." I was like, "Well, you wouldn't love it if we didn't have air conditioning."
It's funny because right now I'm on that point. I'm training primarily for a race in September, but building a base of miles. Now's the time to do it because when summer hits and you get the dew points up and it's like, you walk outside and it's already sweating like crazy. And you don't want to be training in that type of weather if you already haven't built your base. It's difficult enough. But when the summer humidity hits in the south, this part of the country, it's air conditioning is a blessing for sure.
You wouldn't survive without it. I mean, the population base growing in the south is 100% attributed to air conditioning. If we didn't have air conditioning, it would not be happening, period.
That is true.
So that was the voice of Chris Feeney. Chris is with us every week, whether it's a corporate or community, and Chris is the local sales engineer in the Carolinas, but he covers the whole country, helping to support the IGEL channel. Chris, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going great. I'm excited gosh, I can't believe we're at the end of March here. Time has been flying by this quarter for sure. So
yeah, that's the slogan. Time marches on. It's true. You can't stop it. You don't want to stop it. I mean, the alternative is not as good, but it certainly does fly by when you're busy, for sure. Well, speaking of transitioning, we have with us, who's on mute right now, just so you know, Patrick Toner, who is a XenTegra employee, former IGEL employee, and well-known in the world of IGEL and end-user compute. And Patrick's in the process of moving from the Philadelphia area down to Florida. I don't know yet, guys, if he understands what Florida summers are like, but I guess he's going to go find out.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a pretty good segue there, talking about air conditioning and moving to warmer climates. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Good to be here. But we're in the process of selling our house right now up here. I'm actually a little displaced. I'm at a friend's house recording this. So if you see me go on mute, it's because there's a little bit of construction going on in the background. But we're heading south to Florida, where their air conditioning is a requirement for sure. That was number one requirement for the house we looked for.
Well, you're going to be somewhat close to the ocean, so it will get moderated a little bit, but it's still, 5 months of thinking you've moved to hell, probably.
This is true. This is my wife's family lives. We're going to the Jacksonville area. My wife's family lives there, and they're assuring me, oh yeah, we're close. We're like 20 minutes from the beach. It stays nice and moderate in the summer. Yeah. We'll see. I haven't actually been down in the summer yet, so we'll find out one way or the other.
My worst Florida experiences are like Orlando in July, and it's not close to the ocean, and it is hot.
Yeah, I remember my first time down there. I was like, "You're going to need a shirt for the morning and a shirt for the afternoon."
You got to change clothes when you walk from the house to the car. But no, I think being close to the ocean, you'll get it. So Patrick, again, is one of the architects here at XenTegra. Patrick will be helping to facilitate this podcast when he can make it. And when I can't make it, he'll be the host, and he'll help moderate these community and corporate podcasts we do with IGEL every week. So we talked before we hit the record button, and Seb has recently recorded a vlog. Seb, is it a blog or a vlog that you did?
In that case, a vlog. In that, I would say video blog would fit perfectly.
Yeah. And in that case, way we talk about it, it might as well be a blog, but you do have videos for this. And this is going to be a little unique. The title of this one from March 29th is How to Use the IGEL Community on Slack, which, to some people might sound, okay, what's the big deal? But Slack is a beast. And depending on who implemented what version, but however it was implemented and constructed is really up to the human beings that own it. And some people do it one way, some people do it a different way. This whole concept of these digital collaboration areas, they do what they do, but how you implement it and how you use it is completely up to the person who architected it. And so the point today is to kind of walk through what IGEL's done with the IGEL community, which, by the way, I was thinking about this a lot last night. And I'll just say Citrix flat out. Citrix really screwed up their community. They did not support it and pursue it the way IGEL has and support it from a corporate perspective. And they kind of just outsourced it to another company. And it is nowhere near what it could or should be. Shame on them for not investing in it themselves the way they should have. IGEL's done a great job.
I mean, if we compare that to Citrix, then definitely. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. But yeah, it's almost just IGEL employees, but not only, but just IGEL enthusiasts who are speaking about their own problems, solutions, discoveries, and sharing all that information in one collaboration tool can get quite messy. And that's the reason why we introduced some, let's say, small rules, how to handle a new message, how to handle information sharing. But that's the rules that we delivered. But besides that, the Slack client itself has a lot of features. And I'm always hearing that it's difficult to find something. It's difficult to get an overview. It's difficult to pick out a specific topic. And that's the reason why we create that video. Obviously, the Slack tutorial from today is not meant to be watched from minute 0 to minute 35, because the video is taking about 35 minutes and it's extremely long. And we thought about splitting it up in different sections and different videos. And we took the first version. So we said, okay, we make one big video with different chapters, with different sections where people can jump from topic to topic, because some people already are using Slack for months, years in the IGEL community. Some are pretty new to it. So we try to cover everything in one video.
Yeah. Well, the fact that IGEL has at least 2 that I know of employees that are responsible for making the community happen and making sure it's taken care of properly, that's important. And it's really good to have internal people who work with the rest of the team or the rest of the community to make sure it's handled properly. And like in this case here, there are people that struggle with finding things within the community on the Slack channel. So you took it upon yourself and to come up with a video that helps people understand how it was put together so that it's a little more transparent and more where it makes more sense to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we on the partner side, we get that a lot. They may have heard about it, they may not be using it. And so my colleague Ron, that he's a heavy user of it, but he says, if I'm looking for something, he has sort of his places that he starts. He goes to the community, he searches in the Slack channel, or there's a great site, Seb, I don't know if you can put up the archives.igelcommunity.com. I think that is an amazing place because it is archiving and on a web page, you can see and search what conversations are happening. And if you find one that's interesting, you can click on it and then go right into the Slack app itself and see what it was. And maybe you'll find your answer there, perhaps, but there's always, if you can't, there's a lot of people, I think, Seb, remind me, what is the average response time to a question when it gets posted in the community?
It depends a little bit from the time period, but overall, we are about between 5 to 8 minutes.
To 8 minutes. That's pretty
up to
amazing. No.
So let me start by
that's also
the first paragraph here. It says the IGEL community leverages Slack, our daily give and take platform. That's awesome. It's truly beautiful platform, communicating with each other and for 4 years now together. And we have posted over 3,000 messages. The good thing is there's 3,000 messages and other things, more than 300,000 messages. The bad thing is I'm looking for one thing at that very moment. How am I going to find that one thing?
That's a perfect question that we're covering in that video. I mean, that's also one approach how people are getting in touch with the Agile community, because all of them are not 10 years old, 10 years instantly Agile customers. They're pretty new and they're maybe just evaluating the product. And what is the first thing that you would do? You go to Google, to DuckDuck, to whatever search engine that you like, and you enter a keyword and say Agile. And until I would say 2019, 2020, there wasn't a really good option because Slack is a black box and no search engine has an access on it. And Doug and a colleague of ours, David Sieber, created, let's say, a kind of API for that, which gives you the ability to anonymize the text that you are covering from Slack into Google and adding the main thread link to it. So as soon as you hit one search parameter in Google, it's highly probable that you will hit Agile Community Archive link because, obviously we have until now 8,000 members, 300,000 messages. So we have, I don't know how many threads, but I would say about 100,000. So it's pretty impressive how much information you can get back into Google or other search engines through that API.
Yeah, for the concept of the podcast here, I just did it. I said IGEL. I went to Google, did IGEL Community, and then I typed in what I was looking for, and the very first real thing that popped up, but 2 links down, was archive that explained how to do it.
Yeah.
Patrick, your history on the IGEL side, now on the XenTegra side. I mean, what have you seen people getting out of the community that they can't get from other communities?
Yeah, I was thinking through it. I can't. What's the count of the users up to? Because I think over the years I've seen it grow just tremendously. And then of course sales guys will kind of throw numbers out there. Oh, yeah, it's over 4,000. It's over 5,000. But I think it's grown so quickly, that it's. What is that up to? Do you guys know offhand?
I think Seb mentioned 8,000.
8,000?
Yeah, sorry, 8,000 members.
Yeah,
now,
like that's
just for comparison, I've been at IGEL 4 years at the end of April. When I got here, my first event was Citrix Synergy, which was like a week after I started. Patrick, we started the same week 4 years ago. I want to say, Seb, that it was about 1,000 members 4 years ago. So do the math. That's 8,000 people who probably all have questions that you're thinking, I can't figure out this in IGEL. And maybe somebody's already asked that question. If you've been in tech long enough, if you ever think I'm the only one ever dealing with this, you just don't realize there is a larger community out there that is banging their heads sometimes trying to figure something out or happy to help. And I think that's really key. Doug Brown's, his leadership, honestly, what I love about Doug is he knows that, the person that doesn't hold on to that knowledge like it's mine, this is my power. You share that is exponentially more powerful. And that's what the community is all about.
And Chris, that's one of the top criteria I give people when they're trying to decide, what technology they're going to use in any space is what's the community like? Can you Google for your answer, or do you have to open a support ticket every time you need help with something?
Yeah. And we run into that. I mean, certainly IGEL, we sell through the channel. We don't sell direct. And so we have, obviously, XenTegra, you're at the very top, and those are our elite partners, but we have some smaller ones that are getting used to working with IGEL. They're not aware of all that's available to them. And if they happen to open a support case, they might have the lower level support, which is, it's not 20, it's not an 8-minute response time thing, right? But very often they can find the answer to what they're looking for by going to the community, and we kind of encourage them to leverage that to their utmost ability. Anyways, at some point their knowledge will grow, and like anybody, you stick around with it long enough. So, but it's grateful to have a place like this and guys like Doug and Seb, managing it and obviously keeping it very fresh and active.
Yeah.
I think to add to that too, I mean, there's, you think of IGEL, it connects to so many different things. It goes in so many different verticals, peripherals, different pieces of hardware. So, if it's always the first place I check, I'll go in the community and search, if there's a hardware, model number, and I'm just, maybe having an issue with it, because there's probably, when you have 8,000 users, there's probably someone out there who's posted about it. So I just think it's such a powerful tool. The other thing that's worth mentioning, and I'm sure we'll get into it, is the custom partition store, which is so awesome. I mean, I think in the last year that was built, right, Chris?
There's a link to it here on the website, but the majority of where that lives is on GitHub. And my colleague Ron Nair, who's not on right now, he's been helping with that a lot, especially if basically there's a Linux app that somebody's trying to figure out, can I run it on IGEL? He often will go through and kind of help. Or have the tools to kind of, here's what you need to do if you want to try to build it yourself. The biggest thing that I've seen with that is, it's applications, right? Applications have often other requirements in order to work well. Maybe it's a library of this or whatever. Maybe that library already exists in IGEL's operating system, maybe not. And so he has a process he's helped figure out where, you can go and see what does it require, and then go and then build this script that will go and pull this all together, and then actually go and package up the custom partition and zip it all up so that it's now ready to be installed. So it's actually pretty cool. You kind of learn a little coding and how things are working behind the scenes. But that is a great tool. It's on the GitHub site, which I'll put a link into the chat here. We can pull it up if you want, but that is a place you should absolutely get familiar with. There's a lot of great information and other things that community members have shared, not just IGEL employees.
So guys, I gotta pull us back to the topic here. I think we've done a good job of covering the IGEL community and the fact that it's using Slack and that IGEL is doing a great job investing in it. Let's so Seb, I'm not gonna try to walk through the video. It's too long this time, but let's cover topics that you've called out here after the introduction. The next one is start the web client or start the client web plus desktop. I think you're really saying go through the web browser or go through the desktop app, right? Tell us what you mean by that part of the.
That's almost right. We have let's say the issue from time to time that people are not allowed to use Slack on their company network. So I'm just trying to share with them how to use Slack, not only from the Slack client itself that you can use on Linux, Windows, Mac OS, and also on your iOS or Android phone, but you can also just open a web page and you don't have to install something. You do not need to install some plugins. Everything is inside of the website. So I'm just trying to share with them some thoughts about how to check, how to test the connection, and just to get rid of the connection issue that you might face if you're using a proxy or a company network. And so basically that's the first thing that I wanted to share with them. And
you would think
then I'm going,
more technical users would understand the difference between a Windows app or a Mac app or a Linux app and using a browser to access that same app, but doing it through HTML. But you'd be shocked, especially in the guys that live in my world where you're talking about Citrix and people are confused by the Citrix Workspace app versus using a browser to go to Citrix Workspace. In theory, you get mostly the same exact things, but not quite. And when you're having a conversation, you really got to start with, okay, are you using the app or are you using the browser to access the web page? And then from there, you can talk about, what to expect from that point on. But for the most part, Slack is going to be almost exactly the same, right? Other than the
right. I must say that Microsoft Teams is doing an even better job in that case, I must say, because the web client is based on the WebRTC, so it's pretty much the same as on the full-blown client. But that's another topic. Just wanted to say that there is an alternative to use the full-blown client on your PC or Mac. Right.
So now we get to the second topic, and that is how to navigate Slack, whether you're going through the app or through a browser.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just flat out say it. I don't like Slack. We use it here at XenTegra. I didn't endorse using it. It just kind of showed up one day, and I had two different factions using it. And one was designing it their way. The other was designing it their way. And right now I've got like channel upon channel that are basically doing the same thing. And where am I going to look for something? Hell, I don't know. I can't figure it out. So I'm not a Slack fan, not because of the tool, but because of how we didn't have control over how we implemented it.
But that's, by the way, a topic that we also having, Chris, you would agree, internally on Teams. I mean, having a structure for different departments instead of one unified communication cooperation platform is pretty demanding, because you have redundancies between different departments. You have the same topic because you're working for the same company, and then you have differences. How to deal with that? That's something that we try to cover also on the IGEL community, because we were thinking, hey, should we use an IGEL community in German maybe? Because not everyone is speaking English. Look at me. I'm not speaking the best English in the world, and I'm not writing it neither. So maybe people might be scared about writing something in English. The first thing that we thought about. And then we said no, because if we create a separate workspace only for German, then we will lose a lot of information in the general Slack client. And same for other topics. Should we create an IGEL OS 11 or upcoming IGEL OS 12 channel for that? No, because sometimes it's related to the UMS. So we just try to cover a general, more generic approach about saying we have, 15 different categories of topics where you can ask a question. And then we have, I will cover that a little bit later on, channels where we as an IGEL employee are sharing information with you. So announcement, new product, etc. So the first time when you start the Slack client, you will get maybe killed about for too much information at one time. And that's what we're trying to do right now in the tutorial, to explain how to find the correct information, the correct part of the Slack client that is interesting for you. And that's how we navigate from channel to channel.
Yeah, I think just to add we use Teams internally for a lot of information. And I think to Andy's point earlier, if you don't have control over how that is, especially building out channels, or if too many channels get built and people aren't quite sure where to go, what ends up happening, and certainly is a chat thread ends up that's not inside of a Teams site necessarily. And then a lot of information is put into that. And I think part of this is training, right? Because I'm pretty sure that if you post in Slack, you can actually tag it to maybe different channels, perhaps, so that it shows up in different places. But I think if there's anything that maybe I think impressed me from where do I get stuff, because this idea, Google's idea of just an amazing search engine, right? They have obviously their web thing, but they had a client you can install and you could search for. Microsoft picked up on this indexing thing that picks up on all kinds of things, right? Even now, like this morning, I searched for keywords. Like, where is that PowerPoint file? And I knew roughly the word for it, and I typed it in. It figured it out in like 2 seconds. So, if you're not quite sure what channel to go, or the information is there, that's a way to kind of navigate and figure things out. Just use a search. I skipped ahead. Sorry. I'll pull back and.
Oh, good.
And if I did a while ago, right? I literally used the Google search, and I put community in it, and I did find what I was looking for, which is that's pretty powerful. And so, Seb, there's someone at IGEL that's responsible for keeping this thing from being a mess, right?
Yep.
Is that you or somebody else?
I'm trying, at least. It's not easy because we're dealing with so much different personalities and egos, and even myself. So sometimes you are just, you cannot be too rude. So if you ask something to do, whatever you wanted him to do, and he is not doing it, well, you cannot oblige him. So sometimes I would not mention the name because obviously it's not the part of the podcast.
Sorry, Doug's not on here. We can talk bad about it.
It wasn't him. We are usually asking for people to, if you answer or if you want to post something, write a first post. And then if you want to add something, or if I'm answering something, reply in a thread. And that's something that I will cover a little bit later on. And this person continually create a new post for every sentence. And the fun fact is that if you want to create a break row in Slack, it's possible. You just have to know how to do it. And if you don't do that, every time you hit enter for your sentence, it creates a new post. So we had, 80 different posts at one time. And I was always trying to bring them together again. And it was just a mess. But that's, not my main role, but I'm trying to cover it. But obviously, there are also other people like Ron, like Falk Highland, and other people from the community, David Prowse, who are taking a look at it and trying to filter that, especially if it's not in the Central European time zone.
Yeah, that's a really indicator for me within my own team, whether people understand what a digital workspace is. If they start a new thread every time they say something and they don't see that the rest of the team is communicating in one single thread, I have to stop and try to help them understand, hey, you need to go back to email. Actually, I don't say that. That's the last thing I say.
That's hilarious.
All right. So Seb, quick time check. Do you have time to go over the hour, or do you need to be done?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I've got 30 minutes, but okay. So we're going to have to let you just roll through this. We're never going to get through the 35 minutes of content. How to navigate the channels. I think we've covered that. You guys are policing it. You're doing the best you can. Did you cover what you needed to on how to navigate the channels actually?
Yes. And we will cover also a little bit later on what the different channel, which purpose each channel has. So that's something we'll cover a little bit later on. So here, I was just going through, hey, you have to click on the channel, then you get a message. And then if you get the message, you click on the message and then you can read it. So that's, let's say, the most basic approach, how to deal with the client and read a message. Since we have replies to a post, also explaining how to open the reply, because if you just see the message, you would expect that it might be shown directly under the main message, but it isn't. You have to click on the blue reply link and then you get right part of your Slack client, then the original answer to that thread. That's something that I'm just trying to cover in that section, just before going to the main section reply in a thread, which is not the longest one, but the most important one in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm kind of lost in where are we at in the breakouts here?
We are at 4:30, minute 4:30, reply in a thread. Okay.
So I think that's what we were just covering, right? Making sure people understand, don't start a thread, just hit reply within a thread. And that'll make it easier for everybody to understand the conversation. And that's one thing when the conversation is happening, but 6 months later, it's so much better when it's all in one place.
Yep. And besides that, we have, even if the IGEL community is mostly fun, we also have to create reports. And if we create reports out of our answer time of the amount of messages that we receive, we are covering different sections and not only saying we got messages, but we got also a main message and we got replies. And all that stuff cannot be reported if you just create one post every time. So that's a really important feature, not only for the structure itself, but also if people are searching for a specific keyword and then find the thread, but they don't see the answer because someone answered in the main thread. What I'm doing is usually I'm copying that what I'm saying when I'm trying to bring everything together again. I'm copying the main thread where I answered to each post that this person made, that if someone is searching for that, he will get back to the main thread where all the answers were shared.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Well, the next section is how to add reactions.
Yeah.
Reactions are supposed to be constructive,
smileys. Right? Yeah, right. Then was meant to be something productive, something less fun, but more productive. In that case, no. We just have a couple of them that we are using internally for reporting again. So the reaction that we're adding to something is really just giving a reaction. So mostly fun stuff like a smiley, like something related to the topic, like a beer for the Friday afternoon, something like that. So it just mostly giving. Sometimes if you write something, especially if you are communicating over different countries, sometimes if you write a sentence, it might be misunderstood. And that's the reason why sometimes we are just adding a reaction to that and saying, okay, they might be, I don't know, afraid about what I was writing. And then I can say, okay, no, it was not meant that way. More thinking about that and trying to rephrase. And on the other hand, what we have internally is, and that's a process that we introduced 3 or 4 years ago, as soon as we are seeing that an issue, a question, a threat was answered positively. So we found a solution for that. We're adding a green check mark to that. I'm not doing that every time because sometimes the answer is a little bit delayed, but it just gives us a little bit of feeling of, hey, did we answer enough questions in the IGEL community, or is it something that everything is just opened discussions? And we have also the blog, which is coming back to our bi-weekly call with you, Andy, and XenTegra. We have the star as a reaction, and this reaction means that we will create a blog out of it. So it's something that we report 1 time a week, every 2 weeks, and seeing, okay, is there something new that Doug, Ron, or someone, or myself marked as something which might be interesting in a blog, and then we start the blog creation process. So the reaction is for the community fun stuff. For us, it's a little bit of reporting too.
Not to deviate too much or make, I know we don't have a lot of time, so I don't get it. Patrick, Chris, do you see the value of reactions, and have you seen that help you and your customers in terms of trying to figure out what's the right answer for their searches and their value they're trying to get out of the community?
I think it usually, it's like anything, you know, when you're in a message type, platform, it kind of validates the answer. If you see a bunch of likes, you see a lot of people celebrating, you're just like mentally, I think it's like a psychological thing. You immediately think, okay, this must be a good answer. This must be a good post. So yeah, I mean, I think that, it's one of those things that's kind of like emojis and liking messages on your messaging app. I mean, it's something we're just kind of wired to do now.
Yeah, I would agree. If, often you see like, like a message board or something like that. Somebody posts a question and then multiple answers come about, and then somebody closes it out, but then says this is the most popular correct response or something like that, right? And I think you get the same kind of thing with those reactions.
Yeah, it helps, right? And also helps. I'm a big fan of the thumbs up button to let me know that the people who I need to read it read it. I mean, it only takes a second, and it goes a long way towards knowing, that they know that they saw it.
Yep.
All right. The next one at 10 minutes, 8 seconds into the video, you talk about how to use the search feature. We talked around it a couple times so far, but I mean, if you can't find what you're looking for, what's the point? Extremely valuable piece of knowledge to understand how to hold your mouth the right way when you're looking for something.
That's, I would say, sorry.
If I say how to hold your mouth the right way, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
If that was an American saying or not?
No. Doug already mentioned something like that to me, so yes. On the search function, the reason why I'm saying it's besides the reply and a thread, one of the most important features in the Slack client is that even if we think back to yesterday's when we released the 11.07 firmware, so freshly new release from our dev presses, people were already testing that, and we got feedback in the community regarding the Synaptics touchpad, which is not working in 11.07. So we have to investigate a bit further, but that's not the main point. 3 to 4 different people asked the same question in, I don't know, maybe half an hour distance. And if I would have searched for something like that, I would have first used the search function, check Synaptics or touchpad, checking, the last post came 2 minutes ago regarding OS 11.07. There might be something, might be better to enter in that thread before creating a new one. So not complaining, just explaining that using search function is extremely powerful to see something that is not meant to be placed in the support maybe in the first step. You don't have to create a ticket just for asking, hey, am I the only one who is having that issue, or are there other people outside who are also facing that kind of issue? And then if you see that it's a bug, that it's something that needs to be fixed, obviously create a ticket. But just asking, hey, is there somewhere outside who is having the same issue like me? The search function can definitely help. And that's something that I'm hearing quite often. I cannot find what I was looking for in Slack. I must say that, just for my personal opinion, the search feature in Slack is one of the most powerful search functions that I have ever seen in a client. I like Teams, but it doesn't give the same granularity as Slack. And if you search something in Teams, which was posted in a chat and not in a channel, it's quite difficult to find it, because you just get a piece of the method and you have to expand it, but you don't see the whole context. So coming back to Slack, you can search for a keyword and you will get a lot of stuff back. Obviously, if you search for OS 11, like an example, you will get 100,000 posts. But if you search for that combined with another search feature, like from @ Sabastien Perusat, like an example, you will get only posts from on the OS 11 topic. And then you can go from the date section, or even add maybe a specific reaction that was added to that. All that stuff can be used in the search function. That's the reason why I'm saying I'm using search function on a daily basis, 10 times, 20 times a day sometimes, depends from what I'm doing. And just want to say, if you're using Slack and you never use that feature because you are just navigating through channels or asking a question, please check the search function, because it's extremely powerful.
Yeah. Hey, Seb, does your job enable you to have time so that if someone were to get stuck and they just can't find what they're looking for, they could reach out to you, or is that asking too much?
No, definitely. Please just PM me. That's, by the way, a topic that we'll cover in a couple of seconds, how to write a direct message to someone. Even if you're not sure where to post something, yes, just reach out to me, to Doug, and asking, hey guys, I have a question. If that's the right channel, there is no wrong channel. There are just channels with another purpose, but that's something that I'm also trying to cover. But that's another topic. No, to coming back to your question, Andy, definitely. Please reach out to me in any case.
Hey, and Chris and Patrick, feel free to just chime in and talk over top and ask a question.
To that point, I think there are multiple people sort of monitoring, and if it ain't Seb, it might be somebody else that's very active in the community that can also help answer or point you in the right direction. I think sometimes people might be afraid to post something publicly if they're not quite sure. I would just say, don't worry about that. Everybody's here to help. They're not, we obviously, if somebody's going to try to, use it in a way that it's not for that. I mean, from Doug on down, that kind of behavior is, I would say it's not existent, but if it were to happen to show up, sorry, that's not what we're about here. We're about sharing and helping. And so if you're not quite sure, post it out there. Somebody, Seb, Ron, Doug, somebody, myself, whatever, we'll send you in the right direction.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not only Seb and Doug, which you can private message, but be respectful of their time and know that they got a lot of other things they're doing. But there's a whole community out here, and the people in the IGEL community. They want to help, for whatever reason, whether it's because they want to be the guy who knows it all. And sometimes that's where we are in technology. I've been accused of that maybe once or twice today. No, I'm just kidding, but once or twice. And then at the same time, there's just a lot of people who genuinely just don't want to see people struggle with something they've already struggled with, and they'll chime in a heartbeat to help you find what you're looking for. Yeah,
we haven't really talked about, there are 15 VIPs. These are not IGEL employees. These are or mostly, but they're active community members, and they get that because they're sharing, they're posting things they've learned, whatever, and they're also out there, and can help. And what's cool is, from a partner perspective, you might have somebody that's a VIP that doesn't work for you, but is still willing to share and help. That's the thing. So, at the end of the day, we're all kind of in this together. And that the community that's been built is there to kind of help. So anyways, let's keep moving here.
Just one more thing to add to that. I would just say, on the search feature, this is probably the most powerful tool in the IGEL admin's belt, right? Having the ability to search through a huge database of all kinds of things that people have encountered, they've shared publicly. If I put myself in the position of an IGEL administrator working, managing my IGEL environment for my company, this is the first place I want to go. I want to go here. If I encounter some kind of an issue or I don't know how to do something, I start here. And maybe step 2 would be, if it's not there, post it. To your point, Chris, post it out there to the community, so that, the next guy that comes around has it. But yeah, I mean, this is just such a powerful tool. And, a lot of times technical people, we can kind of become professional Googlers, right? We know how to find things through search engines. So I think this is just gold to someone who's technical, who's managing IGEL.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's oftentimes, that person that has the experience, they come across a situation and they either can recall something, they find where to search for it, or they've been down that path and they know what screw to turn, and are willing to share that. One case in point, right? We have IGEL Ready program. I have an IGEL LG Gram laptop, and I have a UD Pocket 2 that has the USB-C thing. I plugged it. There's 2 USB-C ports on this LG Gram, and I plugged it into one and could not figure out why it wasn't booting up to the UD Pocket, and it never would. And then I said, well, there's another USB-C, but I'm not sure if I could use that one. I think that's the power one. I switched it and it booted up right away. I'm like, okay, that was the lesson learned. Obviously, there's something different between the two, but the other port could also be used to power the device. Lesson learned. I posted it out there and said, hey guys, you ever run across this? Try another port. That maybe that's the trick. But stuff like that. A little embarrassing to some degree, but I don't really care. I'd rather somebody else not struggle with that if they run into it.
Yeah. All right, guys, Patrick and Chris, if you have to drop at the top of the hour, just fade off into the background. We'll just keep going here. Seb, community channels, the purpose and explained. I think we've kind of talked around it a little bit, but help us understand the structure of how you guys have set up the channels.
Sure. We have, let's say, a top 3 to top 4 channels where most of the messages are posted, question asked, question answered. And I mean, they're quite obvious. If you speak about IGEL OS, IGEL UMS, IGEL Cloud Gateway, and IGEL Hardware, it's pretty obvious. We are speaking about the IGEL Universal Management Suite related questions or issues. On IGEL OS, obviously OS 5, OS 10, OS 11 in the near future, OS 12, maybe OS 4 question. And then we have the IGEL hardware, so basically our own hardware, UD2, UD4, UD6, etc. So UD4, UD3, UD5, UD6, this way. And the IGEL Cloud Gateway based on our IGEL Cloud Gateway. So the application that you install on an Ubuntu box to connect your outside devices to your internal UMS. But besides that, we have a couple of others. And we are getting sometimes questions related to IGEL OS in IGEL Win 10, because people are thinking that it's related to Windows 10 BTI pool on Citrix. No, it isn't. It's really related to all the Windows-related questions to our former products, I would say, like UMA, even if it's still in the product portfolio. We already discussed that a couple of weeks ago. It's not my favorite tool. The IGEL Windows 10 IoT devices, Windows 7 embedded, or the unified desktops in former times for XP embedded and Vista embedded. And we have a couple of others. So that's where you could pose questions. Same for hardware compatibility or IGEL licensing. All of that is quite self-explaining, but we will never argue with you or complaining if you pose a question regarding licensing in IGEL UMS, because it's still related to each other. So there we are not so much cross-checking. But if you pose a question regarding IGEL OS and IGEL Windows 10 or Windows 10 question in IGEL OS, there we'll try to re-guide you in the corrected channel. So that's really the, let's say, most top 5, top 4 channels. But besides that, we have channels where we are posting more general information, like the community chit-chat. So if we want to wish to the whole IGEL community a great weekend, that's something which will obviously not fit in IGEL OS. That's where the community chit-chat channel is coming up. So there you can post whatever you like, which is not related to a question to our product. It's really just general stuff. Like in the COVID phase, how is the US dealing with the situation? People were asking, or from the European side or from the US side asking how we are dealing with the vaccine. All that stuff, which might be also sometimes a little bit political. So we have to keep an eye on it. Will happen there. But that's really something where you can post whatever you like. And then we have the announcement. So there I'm coming back to a few channels where you're not, let's say, allowed to post something because we are using it to share information with you, like the announcements regarding events, regarding new products, regarding new programs, Azure Ready informations. That's where we were posting mostly Doug and myself, because we are the two only, let's say, admins from that point of view, sharing information there. And then we have the new product releases, which is really focused on new product that we are delivering to the market. Can be a new whole product, like a new hardware, like the new UD3 or UD7, or also new firmware, like yesterday's 11.07 publishment, something that we are sharing also in that regions. Or private builds. And there, I just want to mention one thing, because it might not be known by every listener. Yes, we are sharing the private build release information inside of the Agile community, but only the release information. You cannot access the private builds publicly from the Agile community. You have to ask Doug or myself for a link, and we are asking for which reason, etc., etc. So there's a process behind that. So we are sharing the release notes, but for asking a link to the firmware, you have to contact us. And then we have all the other stuff like the end user computing tech blocks, the disrupt, the event sections, where different parts of the company can share information with you. Start with over RSS feeds. So that's obviously also a part, Andy, where we are sharing automatically the podcast from XenTegra that you're sharing with us. So everything is related to that channels. And we are linking them if something pops out to a specific sub-channel if needed. And that's, let's say, a short summary about what we are doing there, about places where you can ask a question and people where you can get an information.
So, Seb, how many times has the strategy towards architecting and designing the channels changed, or were you guys ahead of it enough that in the beginning you knew what you wanted and the strategy was implemented and was able to stay on course?
That's a really good one. I would say most of the channels that you're seeing there were there from the beginning and on, but we removed a lot of them. So we shrink the list a little bit because we had some sub questions like a design contest, like product that we launched and never came back again. We had a specific AMI channel. We had some customizing, so really graphical user customizing channels. So we had more channels when we started, and we removed a lot of them because we saw that most of the people are going to Agile UMS asking a question there. And no one is knowing, for whatever reason, we have all the other channels. So we decided to shrink them a little bit.
Yeah. Well, your next topic says how to sort and hide unneeded channels. How do you determine when something's no longer needed?
That's really for you as a user. So we have sometimes also technology partners. So that's something that I will cover a little bit later on. But let's say stuck on that one. Even myself is not interested in getting disrupt or end-user computing tech blocks or events popping up every 10 seconds. So I'm creating a specific grouping where I say, okay, everything which is related to news, that means to stuff that might pop up every seconds, will be sorted in a specific channel where I'm looking at one times an hour, maybe sometimes one time a day, and really checking only for that specific topic if on demand. But keeping every else channel showing up more or less instantly, and that's how I'm creating my own section of which kind of informations do we have. And thanks to Ron and Chris and Werner Spielopter and Raphael Kreppen for the European, we also have non-public channels that you cannot see because they are definitely private for each reseller partner that we have. which is on Slack, obviously. So we have sometimes also discussion which are happening not in the public channel, even if it's not the most common way to communicate, but it happens. So we have back on that created, in that case, run specific private channels, and there we communicate with people. So also that is sorted in a specific manner in my local client, just to have let's say a structure about what I want to do to a specific amount of time.
And Seb, does that logic apply? Does that technology apply whether you're using the browser or the app, or is it only one or the other?
Really good question. It's everywhere, beside the app client on your cell phone. There you also have the sorting function, but it's not meant to be collapsed as it is on the web client. So that's the only difference that I'm seeing between the platforms.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Next on your list of topics here was how to manage notifications. Notifications can be extremely powerful. They can also be extremely annoying.
Yes, that's. I'm not leaving. I want to hear more.
Honestly, it's a tough one because I want to get everything instantly. And I did that for everything, for Zoom, for Teams, for obviously for mails, but also for Slack. And I switch back to mute specific parts and looking at them on demand. And I understand that people get annoyed by all the communication happening in Slack because, obviously it's not your daily job. You don't have to be there on a daily basis like I have to do. So I'm doing Slack really full-time, so instantly. So I'm creating an instant notification for everything on cell phone and on PC. But for you as a standard user, you might only want to get notifications maybe one time a day, or maybe just on specific topics or on specific keywords on specific channels. And that's what we are covering in this specific section, because we have a lot of different configurations. But I would say that the most important one for you as a user is not to get every notification for every new message, because you just maybe want to get stuff that you posted. So I'm telling you how to do that. But also, if you are looking for a specific product, a specific technology, and you want to get a notification only for that one, maybe in addition, like just setting device trust because you are interested in device trust. And you put that keyword into the Slack client, and that will also apply to any kind of other clients. You'll get a notification every time that this keyword is listed somewhere. And that's pretty cool, I must say.
So, Seb, I got a question. When you say notifications, are we talking email notifications? Are we talking pop-ups within Slack? Both? What are we talking about?
It's basically what you prefer. It will apply to notification inside of the Slack client. That's the main purpose, but you can also switch back to emails if you prefer. So I'm using the Slack notification on the desktop client and on the cell phone, so push notifications. But it also applies to any kind of other preferred way to contact you. So you can choose between different notification types, like the Slack built-in ones, or email, or whatever you prefer.
Yeah, I'm still I'm very progressive and I want to use digital workspaces, but at the end of the day, I want everything to show up in my email in case I miss it. That's the one place I try to aggregate everything. And for me, that's how I work. And that's one of the nice things about Slack is you can make it work the way you need it to. Yeah.
And you can also make some pauses, right? So if you don't want to get notifications during nighttime because you don't want to be annoyed by any kind of pop-ups from your PC, just use whatever you prefer. So you can say, okay, just turn it off during the nighttime, turn it off during my business time because I want to do that, maybe, I don't know, after work or whatever. And that's something that you can deliver in that specific section of your Slack client. And that's something that I do use quite often to change the notification behavior.
Okay, so next section at the 29, 26 mark is how to send direct messages. Probably pretty obvious, but what are you covering there?
We are trying to explain to your listener that writing a direct message in any case is great. But if you have a question regarding an issue, regarding agile-related behavior, we prefer you to have asked that in a public channel, just because then other people can participate and can also search for that specific topic. And private message really means private. So there is no relink or sharing in the archive site or whatever. What you're writing is writing to me or to a group of persons. And in a general manner, it's great to ask something, just a short question. Hey, are you aware of that? No. Could you please ask that in the public channel? That's how we are dealing with that. But you might also ask us for the private build download link as a PM. That's fine too. I'm taking care of that. Or if you have questions regarding a specific, maybe confidential behavior of your company, or you want to share a specific screenshot, maybe of a, I don't know, company related behavior, PM me or direct message, private message, whatever you like from the term, write it directly to me and I would be happy to have them. So that's really just explaining, hey, how to search for a user, how to write him or her a direct message.
Guys, any comments on direct messaging?
I would just echo that. I mean, it may be that person doesn't want to post it publicly. They might start with a direct message, but to Seb's point, if it's something that the community at large could benefit from, you're probably going to get redirected to post it there. But it's there for, hey, it may not be something like that. You may have, we've had situations where they reach out and they're like, the best way to handle that is probably open a support case, right? And direct you in that place. So it depends on what's being asked, but it's a tool, use it, don't abuse it.
Yep.
Well, that's a key thing, right? I mean, people don't have time. They maybe want to, but have time to back and forth all day on direct messages. They have other things to do. Next section here, how to subscribe to hidden channels.
Yeah. If you already had a look on the IGEL community, you see that maybe sometimes beside our own products, we're not doing a big publicity regarding new stuff that we want to sell. I mean, it's part of our business, no question, but we don't want to do that as the main target. So that also applies to our technology partners. We have an IGEL Ready program. In the IGEL Ready program, you as a technology partner like Device Trust, like an example of HubUtech or whatever, can go through that process to get a certified product in our ecosystem. There are a lot of sub-processes in that part, but we are a small piece of them, seeing that as soon as you went through that process, you will also be onboarded on the IGEL community. That means if you want to, we create for you a specific channel where you can do whatever you like. You can send out publicity. You can post pictures of your last holidays if you like, even if it's not the main purpose. But you can do whatever you like. Something that you cannot do outside of your channel. And since you can do whatever you like and do publicity also there, we are not pushing that actively to anyone. We are making an announcement that a new technology partner, whatever, just joined the community, that we created a hidden channel for him, for his product, and people can subscribe to that hidden channel. And that's what I'm covering in that part of the tutorial, explaining how to find a specific technology partner. So they're mostly starting with TP minus for technology partner minus, and then the name of the product. Sometimes you will get specific information like new documentations or new product releases, like we had a couple of weeks ago with Jean Zagonel from Synlink, if I remember right. Just have to double check, but cannot find it. But you will also get NFR kits or whatever the company is able to share with you. And even if you have a question to that product, you can ask it there, because it's not something which is related to IGEL, maybe to ControlUp or another company, and then you can go for that specific channel and ask your questions there.
Getting started section, personal information.
Yeah.
Information, I think it's probably meant to say, but this is about setting up your profile, your identity there.
Right. All right. That's the, let's say, less important section from the tutorial perspective, but from your personal one and from the community one, a really important one, because even if you do not want to share your picture, we're absolutely fine with that. But it definitely helps us to understand where you are and which time zone you are, just to answer you in a specific way, because we have also cultural differences sometimes we have to take care of. And it just helps us to better understand who you are, not for marketing purposes, not to writing you a specific publicity in your own language, not at all. It's just for the Agile community to knowing that John Smith is coming from Iowa and is asking a question regarding, I don't know, a cornfield UDC machine or whatever. And we just understand, okay, he's coming from a specific vertical, he's coming from a specific region, he's in a specific time zone. So how to deal with that? And that just helps us to better get you and understand you.
Yeah. The more you're willing to share, the better. But at the same time, it's your information.
Absolutely.
Okay. Last topic here says IGEL Community Resources. That sounds like a big one.
Yeah. So we are covering there the most common web pages that we are using IGEL Community if you start with us. So we are covering the IGELcommunity.com website, obviously, and from there, all the different sub-pages that we're delivering from the GitHub side over the Getting Started guide that we're delivering to you. Sometimes by our own, like the Getting Started guides for end computing, but sometimes also Getting Started guides from other people like Lars Glockner on the unified communication stuff. And going through this, we are navigating to the IGEL Community blog. So the blog part of our daily business, where IGEL Community members ourselves are creating content. Also, still part of the IGELcommunity.com website. And then we have the last part of the webpage, if I'm right, the videos.igelcommunity.com webpage, which is a subpage of igelcommunity.com, where we are sharing the monthly meetups, the general meetup that we have with Jet Iris regarding the strategic position for IGEL for the next years, all the Tech Tip Tuesday videos that we are covering mostly with you, Andy, on a weekly basis. So that's a video part of our daily business. And that's it.
Yeah. Well, Seb, I appreciate you walking through. I think people really need to watch the video on this one because they can see firsthand what it is you're showing, and also get a visual representation. Chris, we lost Patrick along the way. He had somewhere else he had to go, but he'll be involved more and more, and especially as we go deeper dive technical ones, he'll be very valuable to us. Chris, anything else about the IGEL community and what Seb's done here to give people a primer? Look, I mean, we keep apologizing for it being 35 minutes long. Truth is, you can watch it at more than natural speed, and it's only 35 minutes long, and you go from zero to hero in 35 minutes or faster. That's
I think I was posting some other resources out there. There's a lot of great stuff out there. Some key things, that were in the community and now are sort of this often thing, the unified communications guide, which is maintained by one of our chief architects, Lars. I'm getting some echo now. Sorry. There's a hardware community list. It's not an official thing. It's just that, hey, partners, community members have tested various types of devices with IGEL. And while it's not an official engineering kind of thing, it is, hey, if I'm wondering if this webcam or something has been tested, that's a great link. There's all kinds of stuff. So spend some time there. Like I said, it's a gift to the IGEL fans out there, and certainly it's great to have Seb and Doug, in charge of that. We're very excited, and certainly the VIPs and others that are contributing to it on a regular basis. So
I'll just double down the earlier comments. It's IGEL has invested in building a community. They understand. I think the XenTegra mission statement is build a community and service that community. That's what you have to do to be a long-term sustainable company, technology company specifically. You can't just throw it out there and expect it just to kind of happen on its own. You've got to invest time and money if you want it to be successful. And IGEL's clearly doing that. And Seb, you're an amazing resource with part of Team Doug to get this done and maintained.
But we are just so good because people are joining, not only IGEL employees like Ron or Chris, but also people from the community itself, which is just coming there to help people. So it's not only our job. It's we are just a small piece of that community. The biggest piece are the 7,989 people around us doing that just because they like the Agile ecosystem and just because they like to help. And that's something that I just want to point out. We wouldn't be there without you guys. So just thank you for every listener who is already on the Agile community. It's you are the biggest part of the success than we do.
It takes a leader, but it also takes a village. There was a politician somewhere along the way that said that. It takes a village, and IGEL is building a village with the community and new members every day.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I know you got a busy Thursday, Seb. You're probably winding it down, but appreciate you taking the time to do this, and appreciate all the effort you guys put into it. And we'll talk to you again in about 2 weeks.
With pleasure. Thank you very much for your time, guys.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.